Welcome back to Muppets in Space, a Farscape rewatch podcast on the incomparable. Tonight we'll be recapping and talking about Season 2, Episode 15, Won't Get Fooled Again, and Episode 16, The Locket. I'm your host, Eric Scott, and joining me, as always, my fellow co-host, somebody who knows how to boogie or die, Jason Johnson.
Sorry, man. I thought this was a co-ed bathroom. My bad.
Yeah, I don't think they had unisex bathrooms back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I don't know. Maybe they did.
He evidently thought we did, so.
That woman did not like him in the ladies' room, that's for sure.
Or at least she didn't act like she did.
Yeah, well, as we'll learn, it's all just a dream, so did it really matter? Who knows? Actually, both episodes kind of, in fact, were kind of like a dream, really. So, if you think about it.
Yeah, really. None of this week's going to happen, so we could just stop right now.
Yeah, you can just watch the 2 episodes and then just forget about them because they don't matter. Just like crackers, they don't
Crackers.
matter.
Yes, there we go. It all comes back to crackers.
See? What goes around comes around.
Which, if it all comes back to crackers, means the crackers really did matter. But, okay.
I
Circular.
guess they're the only thing that's real, right? Because everything else is... Anyway.
Time's a flat rat.
Yeah. Welcome to Philosophy in Space. No.
Right. So, Moon Knight? No, play. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, let's get into deep psychological issues. Oh, actually, these also get deep psychological issues too. These 2 episodes. So, hey,
now I want Crichton in a Moon Knight outfit. But anyway, all right.
summon the suit. Okay, but we digress. Which, as we recap this next episode, we'll be digressing quite a lot, as you'll soon find out. Okay, Season 2, Episode 15, Won't Get Fooled Again. Crichton is back in Farscape 1, and once again testing his and DK's theory in orbit of the Earth. When a wave suddenly appears, and his dad and DK call for him to abort, but the module hits the wave, and it all vanishes. And hey everybody, DK's back, woo! Oh, and John's dad's there too.
No, he never really left.
Now the question is it the same actor that was in the original pilot? I didn't check, who knows, but probably is. They just flew him back for this one episode. Crichton suddenly opens his eyes. He's in a hospital bed, and his dad's there talking on his phone. He's happy that John's awake and says how good it is to have him back. When John jumps up, grabs him, pulls him down to the floor, and says, "I'm not your son." Orderlies rush in and restrain him, and a doctor, oddly enough, Aeryn's son, tells him that he needs full restraints. John calls for her to help him and tells himself that this can't be real. John's restrained in a chair, and Aeryn says that she is Dr. Bettina Fairchild. The last thing John remembers is being on a commerce planet, as Bettina tells him that he has no brain damage and continues to assess his health. John whispers to her, asking if they are listening. That's why they can't talk. She calls him Violet, and now paranoid, and he asks what day it is. She says it's Monday, a week since he crashed. He doesn't remember that, saying he had a nightmare of a ship full of aliens. He tries to convince her that he's okay, but she remains skeptical. He asks to see his dad, and she lets him go. He walks out and says he won't get fooled again, ding, title drop, and bursts into a ladies' room, hoping to find something else like he did in the agent simulation from last season.
Oops.
Yeah, oops. Unfortunately, this time he finds a woman coming from a stall. So, nope, that didn't work. He leaves the bathroom and asks a passing man for a newspaper and sees that unlike the last simulation, it's up to date. So, strike two. John then goes to apologize to his dad. DK is still around and comes along and tells John that people are calling the crash pilot error, to which Jack objects strongly. DK argues with him because the Farscape project is circling the drain, so John asks what he wants him to do. First, John must get a clean bill of health by going to see a shrink. John's in the psychiatrist's office and uses her desk phone to order pizza when she enters. It's Zan wearing a suit. She introduces herself as Dr. Jean Kaminsky, and John says that on Earth, psychiatrists don't come in blue, to which she asks if he has a problem with color. He says no, he has a contextual problem. She's an alien. And she says, yes, that's true, but she does have a green card.
As opposed to a blue card.
Yeah, or yellow card. Or
flag on the play.
She keeps asking questions in answer to his questions, and he tries to get her to share Unity with him, but nothing happens. John starts running through a list of people that could be responsible for all this, prompting her to cancel her appointments for the rest of the day. John leaves and sees DK in the parking garage, and that guy's everywhere, and tells him that despite everything he said, Kaminsky still gave him a clean bill of health. Just then a car speeds around the corner of the parking garage, and out steps Dargo, immediately eyeing up the ladies. DK tells John that he's the hottest new astronaut to come out of IASA training, and he's ambitious. John questions his tentacles, which DK calls a lifestyle choice, but says he's also a jerk. He introduces himself to John as Gary Regal and says that he knows of John and offers to get him a beer. In a nearby bar, Gary and John are talking, and John says he thinks that someone is messing with his mind. He's part of an experiment, and they're looking to see which way he'll go. John tells them that they want a reaction from him, but he's not going to react. Gary shouts, "Yeah!" which is echoed by a familiar voice. Swinging around, John sees Scorpius playing drums and Pilot on keyboard and bongos. What? Bettina comes up to John, all dressed up, coming onto him. He introduces her to Gary, who starts making out with her. John goes to get drinks, only to find another Scorpius at the bar. Except this one is not dressed up and is acting normally. I guess take that for what it's worth. Scorpius tells him that the one on drums is not real, and they don't have much time. Since he's not playing a role, John thinks he's behind it, and pins him up against the wall. Scorpius suddenly vanishes, and John convulses, falling onto a table, as everyone watches without any concern at all. John wakes up, and he's back in Dr. Kaminsky's office, trying to figure out who's behind this. He thinks that it must be Scorpius, since he's been having flashes of him ever since he was in the Aurora chair, but admits there's no real reason why he would create a facsimile of Earth, because he doesn't really know what Earth is. He comments that the simulation started out as believable, even Aeryn's presence could have been explained away, and whoever did this didn't make the same mistakes that the ancients did last time. But then Zen appeared, something that makes no logical sense. Therefore, if someone's trying to fool him, they're not doing a very good job of it. He says he could still be on Moya, and this could all be a dream, and she says that that's one possibility. He admits to her that he misses Moya, noting how a ship full of aliens somehow became normal to him. Jack and DK tell John that the new project administrator, Douglas Logan, has been brought in, and he's a tough old bastard. Jack says that he's really a nasty piece of work, so John goes to have a talk to him. In his office, he finds it's Rigel. John treats him like a friend, takes his cigar, sits down, and puts his feet up. Logan tells him that he's authorized a second attempt at Farscape 1, but John has to get this one right. It's good PR if John flies it again. John thinks that this second attempt is just a plot by Scorpius to find out how he created the wormhole, so he refuses and walks out. Jack and DK start to argue with him outside when Logan returns in a golf cart. John kisses him, picks him up, twirls him around, and throws him off the stairwell of the parking garage.
Sounds like that'll end well.
Yeah. He then turns to his dad and DK and tells them that they are acting really annoyingly and walks away. John returns to the bar to find Gary with Bettina, who introduces Jessica, who looks an awful lot like Gianna. She says that she's an astronaut groupie. Scorpius appears in the seat behind them, telling John that they really need to talk. But no one else can see him, so they go out for a drive instead. John's speeding along the highway, and they're all having great fun when Scorpius appears on the hood of the car, telling John to focus and begs him to listen to him. John refuses and crashes the car into an oncoming truck. Oops.
Don't drive angry.
Yeah. Don't drive with the half scared on your hood. John wakes back up in the operating room. Bettina comes in, but this time with her hair in massive curlers, and says that the truck won. But don't worry, Gary and Jessica are fine. John tells her that really, no, a crash like that should have killed them all, but she just says that they were very, very lucky. She says that John's got a visitor, somebody new. John thinks maybe an alien this time, maybe a Shang, but instead it's someone he doesn't expect at all, his mom. John's reluctant to let her touch him because she's dead, but she says that she had to come. She sees that he's sweating and hugs him, saying she'll make everything all right, just like moms do.
Aw.
Aw, Mom. She says that he's changed, he's become callous, and he's killed people. John points out that there's no way she can know that, but she says that it's why he can't sleep at night, because it bothers him. John abruptly leaves, saying that she's not his mother. Having finally decided he's had enough of all this, he finds Scorpius back in the bar, only it's not the Scorpius he was speaking to previously, but that laid-back drummer Scorpius. He gets John a drink when his mother returns, this time in a nightgown with an IV drip, looking much, much worse. He tries to get away from her, but falls over, and she tells him that she's scared and asks him to be with her when she goes this time. John gets very emotional and begs to the unforeseen people controlling this that this is cruel, please don't do this, and in tears, he runs out of the bar. Outside, he runs into Bylar Craze, but he's dressed as a police officer who recognizes John as an astronaut. He wants to get John off the streets, but John instead beats him up and takes his gun.
As you do.
You know. He returns to Logan's office and this time finds Logan, Bettina, Jack, Kaminsky, and DK there. They all say that he's in no shape for this, but he says that Scorpius can either let him go or watch him go berserk. Kaminsky asks him why he's so obsessed with this Scorpius fellow, And John says it doesn't matter and takes the gun he borrowed from Grace, or stole from Grace, and shoots Jack. But the bullet goes straight through him and doesn't harm him at all. And also all the others too, as John continues to fire the gun while they all calmly discuss what to have for lunch. John screams to stop and wakes up back in the operating room, strapped down, when Grace, holding a puppy, hands out his charges: assault and 5 counts of attempted murder, which the penalty for that is $29.40, payable by cash, check, or credit card.
Cheaper than the pizza.
That's right. He hands John the bill and leaves. Suddenly, Scorpius arrives and finally explains what the frell is going on. A Scaran captured John on the Commerce Planet. He says that Scarans are aware the real Scorpius is chasing John and want to know why. What John is experiencing is the standard Scaran method of interrogation: induce delusions to break down mental defenses. They're not trying to fool him, rather they're trying to drive him insane. And it's working. He says that John's mind is about to crack, but he can't allow that. He was there first. He says that when the Aurora chair failed to unlock the wormhole information, he implemented his second strategy. He put a neurochip in John's head, and it contains a mental clone of Scorpius' personality, which in turn explains John's visions. It's also why John couldn't kill him on the Aurora planet. It's a failsafe. His job in Crichton's head is to get the wormhole knowledge, no matter how long it takes. John decides to call him Harvey, but Harvey says that Scaran is not aware of him. He tells John to ignore the false Scorpius and not to confide in anybody else, as he only can manifest when the Scaran's attention is diverted. John asks how he knows he's telling the truth, and Scorpius says that he's sweating because he's exposed to the heat a Scaran produces. He says that he cools slightly when the Scaran is elsewhere, preparing another onslaught. He tells John he must concentrate on the real to stop the Scaran. He says that he's not been disarmed because his pistol alone will not affect the Scaran. But before he can say what will affect the Scaran, he leaves because the Scaran is returning.
Bum, bum, bum.
Da-da-da. At this point, things truly begin to go crazy, as if they weren't already crazy before. This time, all the ladies are in fetish clothes, with John strapped to a chair, and they're all talking dirty to him. Then Rachel shows up and sends them all away, and tells John that he's his now, and starts whipping him in return for all of his various nicknames John's given to him. John manages to get out, as DK shows up now in a wheelchair, shouting at John and having blood squirt from his wrists.
That got
Some
dark
doctors...
quick.
Yeah, that's what... I went to a whole different place suddenly. Some doctors pick up John and wheel him away as he hears his parents arguing. Then he's thrown off the building and lands on Crace's police car. Crace steps out in red high heels and reads some rather comic rights to him. Then suddenly John's in the car with Gary, who comes onto him and asks him to take part in a Luxon bonding ritual. No, thank you. Then John wakes up in Kaminsky's office, where his mom's there too, and she also starts making advances towards him. What? Ew. He suddenly returns to the bar, where he refuses an offer from Gary to boogie or die, and everything starts to slow down. He hears echoes of Aeryn calling for him, and she shoots the disco ball above his head, causing everything to vanish. Aeryn tells him that they've searched half the world for him. They're on the Commerce Planet, remember? But they're in an underground holographic chamber. She says that it was Scorpius behind the whole thing, but she's killed him. He says, yeah, that's interesting, and she asks him why. He ignores her and says he wants to go, but she keeps pressing him and wants to know now. He realizes the truth and refuses to tell her, so she says, frail you, he can stay. He's suddenly back in the bar and looks up at the disco ball when he begins to convulse and having even more flashes. We cut, I guess, to the real world, quote unquote. We see the Scaran in the room and says that John's is weakening and increases the stimuli. But then suddenly John's brainwave pattern disappears. The Scaran turns to verify that and says that the neural activity has ceased. Then suddenly John opens his eyes and sets his pulse pistol to overload, of course, as you do. The Scaran turns back around to see what's making that noise, and John quickly shoves the pistol into its mouth and runs away. The gun explodes, taking the Scaran's head with it. His nightmare finally over, John sees Scorpius again, who says that he stopped John's brain functions for a few microts to divert the Scaran, and says he will now return to John's subconscious. John swears he'll get that chip out, however Scorpius makes John forget all about that chip, saying he won't trouble John again until he needs to. He tells John before he leaves where the exit is, and says that he'll be with John always, keeping him safe. The end. Some trivia about this crazy episode. Obviously, Crichton's the only main character to make a real appearance in the episode. The title for this episode is a song from The Who, and is recited in dialogue by Crichton as he considers whether he's experiencing the same scenario he did in A Human Reaction. Him going into the woman's restroom is a direct reference to how he was able to determine that that was a fake world last time. And another Who line is referenced when he encounters Douglas Logan the first time. Meet the new boss, not the same as the old boss. Anthony Simcoe enjoyed this episode and considered it a favorite of the first two seasons because it allowed him to showcase his comedic talents. Ben Browder felt that this was a pivotal episode of the season, saying, Chapter 14, John Goes Insane. Claudia Black joked that the set was never as popular as when she, Gigi Edgley, and Virginia Hay were dressed in leather gear from fetish shops. And finally, the shots focusing down Crichton's body were actually filmed by Ben Browder since there was no room for the regular equipment. All right, so that was a long recap, but lots of stuff happened or didn't happen if you think about it. But anyway, whatever. What did you think about this little mind trip episode?
Mind Trip is exactly what we just got. It was amazing, a wild ride. I do think they missed, although I like the Who references, so I guess I shouldn't say they missed, but I, I think Boogie or Die would have been a great title for the episode, because that pretty much sums up what we saw there.
Yeah, because Dargo does scream that really loudly and often in that final disco scene there.
Well, and that's kind of the whole episode, right? I mean, Boogie or Die, his brain's just going to fry if he doesn't figure out a way out. So it has a lot of meaning there.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, I mean, I was just, I don't want to say awestruck, but I love this episode. I loved everything about it. Even the weird, cringy mom coming onto you kind of things. Not in that kind of way, but it was just so off the wall. I loved it. I mean, I think right now I would probably rank it near the top of the episodes we've seen so far for both seasons, if not possibly even the best story, in my opinion.
Yeah, as we said, I don't know that I'll go that far. I hold the season one cliffhanger pretty high, uh,
Hmm.
high bar here, but it's definitely near the top. It was every time you kind of thought you knew what you were getting, they just went further off the rails, which was awesome.
Yeah, and like other Farscapes that are really great, they keep self-referencing each other. So, especially in this case, because Crichton knows exactly what's going on. Okay, I've seen this before. It's a hallucination. I've been here before. Back in season one, the human reaction episode where the ancients uses memories to craft like he's back on Earth. So this time around, he knows exactly what to do. He goes into the ladies' room, a place he's never been before, so he should know what it looks like. That doesn't work. So, okay. He goes back to his second thing. He grabs a nearby paper to see if it's like old news. Nope, something brand new. So that doesn't work. So you kind of wonder if maybe he might start be thinking, okay, maybe this isn't quite, maybe this is real. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, who would expect the Scarin tech to at least be more? I guess I'll use the word realistic than the ancients, right? I mean, last time they were unable to replicate stuff that they couldn't see or whatever from John's brain. So, like you said, the paper and the places he hasn't been, but yet the Scarin technology evidently is able to fill in that gap.
Yeah, or if they can somehow, yeah, better use Crichton's own memories against him or something, to help break him down versus before they weren't trying to like break his mind. They were just trying to find out about him, maybe.
Well, and that's the other part, right? Is obviously they weren't trying to stick to realism. They were able to go completely crazy with it. Bring in Zan, bring in Rigel, bring in everybody, and have jump cuts. They didn't need, you didn't have to go from one place to the other because they could just do a jump cut because being crazy was the point.
Yeah, 'cause I love how they fit Moya's crew into this, unlike last time where they're just like, aliens captured and held for, this time they're part of the story. It's like, they don't try to hide that they're aliens.
No, man,
You
it's just a
know,
life choice.
they, yeah, they look just the same. They're blue, have tentacles and, face tattoos, and it's just like that's him. That's what they are. That's how they've always been like that.
She
You
has
know,
she has her green card. It's okay.
yeah. And because Crichton even calls out every time to everybody like, she's blue, and like, yeah, no, we don't care. And then, but then the ultimate hilariousness, Rigel in the golf cart. That's just comedy gold right there. That I was rolling off the couch out. It was just great.
The golf cart was a good call.
Yeah, he's got a scooter. It's a golf cart. It's the same
Yeah.
same idea.
And the cigar. That was a pretty good
Yeah,
scene too.
and then Crichton's still trying to work through everything. He's still trying to tick off his mental checklist. When he's with Zan, well, actually, I guess Gene Kaminsky. He's talking to her about the people that could have done this. Maldus, nope, not his style. The Ancients, no, it doesn't seem like it. Scorpius, yeah, gotta be Scorpius. Well, he's half right. It's a Scaran, not Scorpius, but Scorpius only half Scaran, so I guess he's half right.
Yeah, that is an interesting point though. The names of the characters did they have any meaning? Did you ever find anything put to the name of the characters, Kaminsky and
No, I
I'm
didn't.
scrolling back, but you know what I'm saying. We had Gary and
Gary Rigel or no Gary Regal.
Regal,
Yeah, close to Rigel, maybe. I don't know, but that's yeah. And Douglas Logan,
which I always thought of
Rigel. It doesn't.
Ted Theodore Logan from uh, anyway.
Yeah, no, I didn't really see if those names meant anything or if they were like names of cast or crew or something. I don't, or
Yeah, I was looking
support.
for anagrams, but I couldn't find any. So I was trying to think. You're probably right. It's probably crew or something. But I was trying to find some meaning there.
Yeah. Or they just pick like kind of not off the wall names because Douglas Logan's not off the wall name, but like Bettina Fairchild, that's kind of no, I don't say normal name, but it's a different kind of name. But yeah, it doesn't ring any bells, any kind of like in joke or anything that I'm aware of. But hey, more importantly, DK's back. Yay, woo! And John's dad, which, again, I always love that guy, that character, the actor too, so, Kent McCord. But yeah, and DK is actually in a lot more this episode than he was the first pilot episode. So when it first came on, I thought they're just rehashing clips from the first episode because it seemed like it was kind of the same idea, like them telling John that wave's coming, and then suddenly he's gone. They're like, oh no! But I'm guessing they probably reshot those with both actors since it didn't seem like it was old footage, I guess.
Yeah, it had been so long, wasn't even sure it was the same actor. So actually, after we started recording, I went and looked, and turns out it was the actor. He actually reprised his role from original. So we don't have a substitute. He looked a little different, but I'll just put that up to time. So yeah, it's really DK. Even though
Okay,
it
yeah, it's been
wasn't
sweet.
really
Yeah, it's
DK, it was anyway.
yeah,
My brain hurts. Yes.
yeah, right. The cake is a lie. Yes, the DK is a lie. Right. I guess keep going down the things that I love about this episode, since I love again everything. I love how basically from the get-go, except maybe a bit where John might think he's really this is real, but basically John's just like, okay, this is an illusion. I'm just gonna give everybody the middle finger, not play along with them. He's messing with everybody, like throwing business cards at Rigel's face. Then later he like grabs Rigel and throws him off the parking garage. you know, he's just calling people jerks. He's acting like a complete idiot. And then when they're driving along in the car, just decides to plow headlong into a truck. Which if it was real, you'd be dead. But he's just like, yeah, screw it, I'm done with this.
The scene with Rigel getting thrown off the garage, I got to tell you, I thought that was going to break the mind trap, right? I mean, if he's really not, if it's really not real, and it's all in his head or whatever, then that should have been like no coming back from that. Of course, that wasn't what happened. It just got weirder. So
Yeah, or if they were also part of the illusion or whatever, it's like, oh no, I just tossed Rigel off a parking garage. Oh
right,
no, but
he's
no, it
either
wasn't.
really
But yeah,
hurt, but yeah, they just
yeah,
decided nope, we're gonna amp up the crazy.
yeah, it's like Rigel. It's like Crichton. No, oh crap, Rigel. No, and then we have Rigel in the hospital, but no, yeah. But I guess despite all the bonkers, crazy, off the wall stuff, there is kind of a serious bit. Well, apart from being tortured mentally, but anyway, there's a serious part of this episode. But we do learn that Crichton's mom has passed away from some kind of terminal illness, and kind of each time how he sees her, it kind of throws him off his play acting, playing around with things. Right, the first time, he's in disbelief that she's here, can't believe that she knows things about him that happened after she died, right? Because that makes sense. And then the second time, she's really ill and wants him to be with her when she dies, which I guess means he wasn't with her last time. And the way he reacts, I mean, Ben Browder did a great job. I mean, he was really emotional, and you could just see it in his face, like, he was so anguished that they were pulling this on him, and that he really wanted to stop. I mean, that was fantastic.
As you kind of mentioned, evidently John had an issue with staying with her while she died the first time, or in real life, right? So he wasn't able to willing to stay with her and make it through whatever she died from, and has regrets from that. And I think that's an interesting because it's another similarity. As I keep liking to pull back the similarities between this show and the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I guess the Guardians would have pulled this from possibly from Farscape because Farscape would have been first.
True.
But it's kind of an interesting parallel to Star-Lord and the opening of spoilers for, I guess it's not spoilers, it's in the first 5 seconds of the movie, but how the Guardians of the Galaxy opens with him, and his mother dying of cancer and how he runs away from that. So I find the characters kind of similar, and I find it interesting that evidently they have a similar background in the mother stuff. So
Yeah, I never really kind of thought of that, but yeah, Crichton and Peter Quill, yeah, they're kind of similar. They're kind of that same smartassy way of going through life, and yeah, it's
and
interesting. I never thought about that.
coping with being the fish out of water in the regions of space where they're not as significant as everybody else. So.
Yeah, huh, interesting. Have to explore that idea more sometime. Or see now if they who cribbed what from, because obviously Star-Lord existed before Farscape comic wise, but yeah, interesting. I wonder, huh,
So,
interesting. Well, at
so
least not, or well, not that version, maybe, right?
right. So does that make
No, that's
Groot Muppet in space?
yeah, or Rocket actually, right? He's a
Oh,
well, he
well.
could be a Muppet.
Hmm.
Rigel. Hmm, Rocket. Anyway, okay.
Now I'm gonna have to do a whole matchup because we've got similar
I
characters.
know. Yeah, I'll have to map this out. Yeah, 'cause it's a ship full of aliens. Okay, anyway, yeah,
Big guy. Oh.
yeah, Drax, Dargo. Wait a minute. So Aaron would be Gamora then,
Yeah.
and then Pilot, not really Groot, but kind of,
Hmm. Needs some work, but hey, it's got some
yeah,
templates.
it's a stretch there, but yeah, it's very interesting. No, wait, I've got it. Zan's a plant and Groot's a plant. There you go. That's all of them. I wonder if the Henson Company can sue James Gunn. Anyway, probably not. So,
Now I want to cross over with the Avengers and Farscape. All right. Sorry, I left the rails way
yeah, no,
back.
yeah. And much like John's life in this episode, we've run off the rails. Okay. Speaking of which, I guess we do kind of learn even more about what Scorpius did to John than we learned about last episode, or 2 episodes ago. Basically, what's in John's head is Scorpius. It's just like a snapshot, a backup of Scorpius' personality stuffed in John's head. And apparently, or at least if John's really mentally messed up right now, it has a lot of control over him because it can actually stop his brain functions, which is kind of scary if you think about it. And then even at the end, he can basically like erase or block John's memory that he even knows what's going on about this chip and Scorpius, and even stopping him from talking about it. So that's pretty damn scary.
Yeah, this is kind of close. I don't want to take credit for it. Sound like I figured something out, but they kept shoving in our face the flashbacks to the Aurora chair, right? So I was obviously thinking that this had something to do with that. The hallucinations of Scorpius had something to do with that, but I did not think that this thing had as much AI as we're talking about, right? I mean, I was expecting some loose programming, maybe like the fail safe and all that being part of an implant, but no, this thing's like full AI intelligent Scorpius personality, and that's kind of freaky.
Yeah, because if you think about it, like, yeah, if it's a true copy of Scorpius's mind, is it everything? So it's like, does John basically have two minds in his mind, which might explain why he's going kind of a little bonkers because you cram in two brains into one brain, right? Effectively, right?
Well, and could Scorpius eventually control him 100%?
Yeah, because as we saw right now, he can do some pretty amazing things. Whether that's because John was at his lowest level of personal control because he's being mind broken, or is it again that's something he can do, or is getting more powerful as the chips in there, right?
Probably come back up as we barrel towards the end of season 2, right?
Yeah, I mean, John, as Ben Browder said, this is the season where Crichton goes insane. So yeah, yeah, at some point they gotta wrap this up, right? But how long they milk this or not, I guess we'll find out. And just being silly, well, the whole episode was silly, but
How can you tell?
in yeah, in the real world silliness, yeah, of course you can set your sci-fi laser blaster to overload because that's what they do. That's obviously the main feature you want in your hand weaponry is to have it to like be able to explode in your hand.
Yeah, as long as it's not like like you say, while you're holding it or have it strapped to your leg or whatever. Let's just have this overload button that you can reach over and accidentally bump up and have it blow up. That sounds safe.
Yeah, because you just spin this dial clockwise a couple of times, and like you could kind of accidentally do that, couldn't you? I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
if
it
you're
snags on the chair as you go to stand up and click, boom. I mean,
yeah, you're walking along, and like your jacket kind of keeps brushing the knob a couple of times, and then suddenly it's like, what's that noise? Oh my God. But yeah, how come it's always sci-fi guns that can explode themselves? Like no one's like walking around with a gun with bullets and like, oh, it could explode, look out. So it's always sci-fi guns
it's
that
it's the
explode.
power cells, man. Never have a gun with power cells.
I guess. I mean, as we learned way back, it's just powered by like, root extracts or something. So it's like you wouldn't think roots can explode, but yeah, hey, whatever. It's
Wow,
sci-fi.
I
That's what
had
happens.
forgotten about the roots.
See, it all comes back.
Oh, how do we tie that to crackers? Anyway,
Yeah.
All
You
right.
can make a meal of both, right? They're eating the root, they're eating the crackers. It's
And speaking
and
of
then
all,
Rigel and then Rigel, peas explosives when he eats the roots. But whatever. Anyway, it all comes back.
yeah, I'm at a loss as to how to tie that to the next one. I was trying to go
Yeah.
with a
How to
insanity
segue
thing,
that
but
sucker? Yeah.
that segue is gone. So since we're off the rails, how about we just go ahead and flail our way into season 2, episode 16, the Locket.
Sounds good. I think we've gone as off the rails as we can get. Let's go back to something just ordinary, calm, and just mild episode next. Let's
Well,
do that.
let's just get stuck in space for a little bit then,
As always, as you do.
as you do. So we open with Moya in a stellar mist, which is so compressed that her sensors can only read what is right in front of her, and it's also causing difficulties with navigation. Dargo and Crichton are on command, and John is waiting for Aeryn, who's gone ahead on a long-range recon. Zan has been meditating, and when she kind of gets up and leaves, she finds an old friend outside her quarters. Stark has returned, and he says he has something important to tell her.
Hey, he's not lost around the ship like we thought for the last year.
That, or he's just been hanging outside of her door for a while. But anyway, no,
Yeah.
I'm sure that's not the case. They go up to command where Crichton says that Aeryn's been gone for one solar day. Suddenly, Aeryn signals Moya and wants to come aboard. Pilot sees an opening forming in the mist with a planet below, and Aeryn's pod comes through. Everyone goes to greet Aeryn, but when she doesn't step out, they all go in, noting that the transport looks like it's been in a battle. A plant has overgone in the pod, and Zan says it's the same type of plant that she gave Aeryn to help her recover from her headaches shortly before she left. But she insists the plant she gave was tiny. Crichton finds Aeryn laying face down on the floor, and when he turns her over, she looks extremely old. She tells Crichton they must get out of there now. After warning them, Aeryn wants to go back to the planet, but she says the opening won't last long, and her granddaughter won't survive without the transport pod. She only came back to warn them to get out while they can. But Crichton tells her that she's been only gone for one solar day. She says that she forgot how beautiful and young he was, and asks if she's only been gone one day, how her Locket has gotten so old. She's adamant that she's lived for 165 cycles, had 3 sons, and watched them die. But then she starts going a little crazy, so Stark takes off his mask and soothes her. Oh yeah, he can do that.
That's right. Remember, he's got this special face.
Everyone's face is special, but his is more so.
Well, he's got this special thing in his face or head or whatever it is. Yeah, they quite explained the first time. But
Yeah, it's magic. Space
that's right.
magic. Zan tells Crichton that her tests show that she's really Aeryn and she's aged 165 cycles. Pilot has analyzed the mist and found nothing, but he says the planet is acidic and Aeryn couldn't have even survived one cycle down there. Rigel and Chiana are snurching around on Aeryn's pod when Dargo comes along and tells Chiana that there's no dignity in what she's doing. He asks her to go look after Aeryn, who may be dying. Because of that, Chiana is with Aeryn when she wakes up, and Aeryn distracts her and then knocks her out with a needle. She goes to Pilot to convince the others to stay out of the mist. She tells Pilot that he won't see her again, but she's glad that she got to see him one last time. She returns to the planet in the pod, and when Crichton finds out, he wants to go after her. Pilot says that the mist itself is harmless, and Crichton says he'll be on the surface 30 microns maximum. He finds Aeryn on a barren planet which is suffering from sandstorms and says she couldn't have lived here. She says that she lived on another planet, and he tries to take her back by force, but someone shoots at him and tells him that she'll kill him if he touches her grandmother again. The woman asks who he is, and when he says John Crichton, she's surprised. She says that Aeryn wasn't making it up after all. All her life, her grandmother has talked about him and the ship. Her father, Aeryn's son, even thought she was crazy. But every cycle, Aeryn came back to check if Moya had returned. Aeryn wakes up and says that the opening only lasts for 4 arms. He has to go now. He will be trapped for 55 cycles if he doesn't go back. So Aeryn tells him to go and return in 8 arms or he will be trapped. Chiana asks Dargo why Aeryn spiked her, but he apologizes for embarrassing her in front of Rigel. He says that she's one of them now, so she doesn't need to act like she's not. Chiana says that she knows, but she's not going to change for them. Zan calls them because Crichton is returning. He tells them that he met her granddaughter when the pod hits turbulence. Pilot says the hole is closing and Crichton starts to break up. The planet is disappearing from Pilot's sensors and they tell Crichton to break entry. He refuses, but he still doesn't make it, and Moya is gone.
Oh no.
However, back on Moya, so it's not that gone, Stark visits Zan, who is meditating for Crichton and Aeryn. He has a plan. Apparently, he's heard of center halos, where time and space join, and he thinks Moya may be stuck in one. He wants to join spirits with Zan because he's heard that Delvians can sense the time continuum when they're linked. He thinks that together they may be able to see if no time exists within the mist. His mind may overpower hers, but they do it anyway. While they're joined, Moya's readings go off the scale and freezes. Meanwhile, on another planet, sunny with trees and grass, Aeryn tells Enix, that's her granddaughter, that Crichton was happy for a few cycles, but something must have reminded him of the past. Apparently, Aeryn has never shown any of her unhappiness, and they've tried to make him happy, but Aeryn says he always was stubborn. All the while, an aged Crichton is walking along, talking with a full southern accent to the vision of Scorpius. Back on the ship, Zan and Stark tell the others what happened, and that Aeryn aged normally, and it's Moya that's stuck in time, and everyone they knew outside the halo and the planet will have aged as well. Everything inside the halo becomes void of time forever when it hardens, and Pilot says that it's hardening now. They want to leave, and Pilot says the opening will reform in less than 1 hour. Back on the planet, Crichton goes to Aeryn, where the trees they planted are now fully grown. Aeryn tells him to come and sit with her on a tree stump, and he tells her he thinks that Enix's husband is boring. Aeryn says she tried to warn him to go back. She says that asks why he hasn't given up his past, but he says he doesn't want to be a gardener, and all they do is plant things. Aeryn asks him if he regrets spending the last 55 cycles with her, and he says that's the one thing that's kept him alive, but it's hope that keeps him going every day. Aeryn gets a pain in her chest, and as she stands up, her locket falls off. She is anxious to get it back, and Crichton asks who's in there. She says that he knows, but he doesn't think it's her husband. He thinks it's him. She denies it and tells him to open it if he doesn't believe her. He'll see the image, the only love of her life. He says no, he doesn't want to see his ugly face. They return to the barren planet, and Crichton breaks out the comm he kept sealed for 50 cycles and tries to contact Pilot. Enix begs Aeryn to return with her, but she says that the Peacekeepers are born in space and die in space, and she belongs up there. They get nothing, and on Moya, Pilot detects the opening in the mist forming. Crichton and Aeryn hear Dargo's reply, and they say that they'll come up right away. As they leave, Aeryn stumbles again, but says she's fine. On Moya, the transport is docked, and as the others come to greet them, they see Crichton holding Aeryn in his arms. She died on the way up. She's gone.
No.
Yeah, that seems pretty final.
Yeah, oh well, season's over. Show's over.
Yeah, so much for that show. Crichton tells everyone that if they leave the mist, there's nothing for them. A colony, some planets, but nothing to make them happy. Crichton has a theory, though. If they exit the mist exactly where they entered, they may be able to return to the time just before Moya entered the rift. Pilot says that to get to that point, he thinks they just have to go backwards. He says that the mist has moved with them, and Moya's back is at its edge, but the mist is now so hard that they can't move at all. A reverse starburst would probably destroy Moya, as she isn't built for it, and Pilot suggests that they instead go forward towards the planet. Crichton reminds everyone that if they do, then they will have to live their lives on a world where they'll never see anyone they know ever again. Everyone else agrees, refusing to live in that world where they have no past and can have no future. So the plan to initiate a reverse starburst is set in motion. Crichton then returns to Aeryn. He tells Aeryn that there are so many people and places he wanted her to see, and says that he misses her already. He turns and says that he loves her and kisses her one last time. Grasping her locket, he opens it to find a picture of himself when he was young, the only love of her life.
Aww. Sniff.
Sniff. Pilot initiates reverse starburst, but everything starts to slow and then stops before it can happen. Zan and Stark manage to join, and Zan speaks to Crichton via their bond of unity. Since they have shared unity, she and Stark can keep time alive, hopefully long enough for John. He runs to command and just manages to manually initiate the starburst before he stops completely and Moya exits the mist, causing time to reset. Wait, since Crichton and Zan have unity, and Zan and Stark have unity, does that mean that Crichton and Stark have unity by reciprocity? Moving on.
Deep. Yeah.
On command, Crichton asks Pilot what it is, and Pilot tells him it's some kind of stellar mist. Shanna doesn't want to go in, so Aeryn says that she'll fly a long-range recon to ensure that it's safe. Zan breaks her meditation and runs to command. Her comm isn't working, and she meets Stark on the way. They know what's about to happen. Pilot is about to enter the mist, but Zan tells him to stop. They ask what's wrong, and Zan and Stark realize that only they remember. Zan tells everyone that they had a vision and sensed great danger in there, so they decide to avoid the mist. Zan asks Stark how Aeryn and Crichton are young again, and Stark thinks that they remember because they were joined when Moya broke free, but that everyone else is back to where they were the moment before. Stark now says it's time to tell Dargo why he came on board.
Oh, now you want to tell him? Right.
Yeah, it's only been a few minutes, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Stark and Zan join Dargo on command, and Stark shows Dargo a picture that he found of a slave being sold to some mines. The manifest lists him as Jothi, son of Ka Dargo. Dargo then attacks Stark, asking how long he's known, and Zan tries to stop him, saying that Stark wanted her awake before he told him. The auction isn't for a few days. They still have time to rescue him. Dargo tells Zan that they have to find a way. Meanwhile, Crichton tells Aeryn that he has a feeling something happened between them, but he doesn't know what. Aeryn opens the locket that Chiana found in the transport, but the contents have disintegrated. As the locket is turned and the contents fall to dust, the camera shifts to John and Aeryn as they gaze intensely at each other. The end. Some trivia for this episode. Paul Goddard briefly returns to the series as Stark. A scene explaining why he'd returned was written but cut. The scene would also have established a romantic connection between Stark and Zan, which is heavily implied in later scenes in the episode. This was the first time Dave Elsley and Jim Henson's Creature Shop tried using hot flesh makeup to create an old age look, something typically done with foam. And also the outdoor scenes were filmed at Sydney's Centennial Park. And finally, the scene where Chiana originally gave Aeryn the locket was scripted but was never filmed. What'd you think of this one, Eric? Did you like it as much as the last one?
Yeah, I mean, it's another fantastic episode. I guess they've really kind of hit their stride this last, I don't know, 5 or 6 year. And I do kind of love these kind of storylines, like when you live an entire life in a flash, kind of like that the TNG Inner Light, the one with Picard and the flute, where he lives like his whole life, but it's really just so the aliens can like project what they're like from a dying planet, that kind of thing. And it's only like a couple of minutes. So yeah, I mean, I love that kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, Aaron's not going to stay dead. Well, at least you hope she's not going to stay dead. Yeah, and that she and John aren't going to be 100 plus years old. But kind of how they did it and how they kind of crafted those scenes. I mean, even though you knew what was going to happen, it still was really powerful and emotional. I mean, I got kind of teary-eyed, I'll admit, watching like that last half of the episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because these are, you're kind of joking about the episodes which are isolated from the rest of the season as bottle episodes. They don't have to go down to the ship or leave the ship. They can kind of contain everything and save some cost. But this one was a bottle episode more in the sense that it's really a lot happens, but at the end, none of it happened, right? Because everything gets undone. Everything's back to the way it was before. And yet we got so much character development and growth in there that you almost hate to see it kind of go away because of the emotional punch that it packed.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about it, yeah, you have like, John and Aaron living for
55 years.
55 years with them together, and who knows what happened, right? Dargo and Chiana have like a little falling out, but then they don't, I guess, because it never happened. So yeah, I guess we'll see if they kind of develop this later, like because how at the end they had like this kind of feeling that something happened between Aeryn and Crichton, right? So maybe there's some residual premonition, feeling, whatever you want to call it. So it could be interesting to see if that gets referenced or built upon in the coming episodes.
And theoretically, she's got grandkids out there somewhere, right? So,
Or does she? If that never happened, but did it happen? It's kind of like that's how time messes with you. It's like if it didn't happen, but it did happen, but then when you undo it, it's like cause and effect basically. It's like you did it, but then
but that planet was,
if you undo it, then how could you have done it in the first place?
but that planet was outside of the timey-wimey bubble thing, so it happened, even though they backed up through the timey-wimey thing and undid it to themselves. I don't know. Huh.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll see them again sometime. Who knows?
Speaking of seeing things again sometimes.
Yeah, Stark's back. Woo! Yeah, unlike our last theory, which was he was wandering around Moya just off camera all these months. And at least he explains that he left with a borrowed transport pod, so we know how he left Gamma Base and left Moya 18 episodes ago or whatever. Although, if you want to be logical, which I know we shouldn't be logical, it's a TV show. How did he get back to Moya? Can the transport pods just like home back into Moya? And I don't know how far away they were since the Gamma Base, but I'm guessing kind of far because they wanted to get away from that as far as they, fast as they could. So how?
Well, I got to be honest. I'm starting to think that the transport pods are just magic in general because how many of those things they have laying around? It's like they're out. No, they've got spares because he took one and what? I don't know. I don't know. I'm confused.
Yeah, I mean, are they organic like Moya? So, I guess they must be. So can Moya like grow them? Can the DRDs like spin up another transport pod? Like,
Yeah, because we had the module, we had the prowler, and then we had a pod. But if I don't know, it seems to me we're never have enough ships when we need them. I don't know. I'm confused.
yeah, I mean, Moya's as big as she needs to be to have as much pods as she needs to have, when she needs to have them. So I
Yeah,
guess the other kind of funny bit, or I guess things about like, how long do Sebastians live? Aaron's like what, maybe her late 20s, early 30s to kind of mirror Crichton, I guess.
is she or is she older?
I don't know. And then you add on 200 plus cycles to that by the time everything's over. So she's like 230, 250. Man, she's gonna really outlive Crichton if they get together at the end of this series.
Which is a good catch, but it's also pretty sad. But as you said that, now I'm thinking, you know, she looks like she's in her 20s to 30s because that's what we equate them in Earth age lifespans, right? But what if she's like 100 already because it takes them that long to reach their 20s to 30s?
Yeah, because like even Rigel, he's like held prisoner for like 100 cycles, so he's got to be a couple hundred years old or something. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of long-lived beings on this side of the universe.
Be robbing the cradle with Crichton. You just don't know.
Yeah, not going there. Anyway,
Moving on.
ew, ew. Okay, yeah. Anyway, yeah, I guess we learned some other new things about our crew. Apparently, Delvians can sense the time continuum when they join, so maybe that's part of the Unity thing. Kind of cool that the first time she and Stark did that, time actually stopped, but then at the end they kind of did the reverse. They helped time keep going, at least for John somehow. I guess because, like you said, he's got Unity with Zan and now Stark and her. Anyway, um, is that a thruple? Anyway, no. Anyway, um, so yeah, so John's able to save the day. So Delvians, Farscape superheroes.
There's got to be some benefit to being a plant, right? Especially if you have Stark around to jumpstart it. I mean, we really don't have his powers mapped out yet, and it seems like Zan's just kind of grow each time we need them. So between the two of them, yeah, we've got a Justice League going.
Yeah, because they may have kind of explained what was in Stark's head when we first saw him, but not really. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, what does he have in there? Because he said that he might overpower Zan's mind, and Zan's pretty strong, having to deal with Mount Maldus and other of her own kind of stuff. So she's got some strong mental abilities. So what's Stark got?
I don't know, but it's pretty bright. So I mean, and it's a really cool mask. So uh, yeah, obviously we don't have explanation. I don't know if he comes back again, how long we get to keep Stark this time even, but it's definitely an interesting character that they could try it out when they need some really cool powers.
Yeah, so you kind of hope that he'll be around for next episode or did he like just take the pod and go away again? I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
He may want some space between him and Dargo. So
Yeah, you kind of may want to lead with that, like hey Stark, you're back. Yeah, I got some good news for you, or bad news for you, but whatever he wanted Zan to be there, maybe to help buffer him and help maybe calm him down, calm Dargo down, so he doesn't smack him into the floor like he did. So hey, maybe maybe he was right to to keep it from.
yeah, that's an interesting point. As we mentioned in the trivia sections, there's a couple of scenes that I would have liked to have seen, had a chance to review. The stuff setting up the relationship between him and Zan, and the stuff setting up the Locket. So I realize we can't have everything, but now I'm curious. So
Hmm. Yeah, I mean they did have a lot of stuff in the episodes. So I guess having extra scenes would have taken away from the good stuff. So and they can always explore that stuff later, I guess, if they wanted to.
yeah,
And I guess that could be alluded to of stuff that never happened or did happen or maybe happened. Apparently, we have our first cracks in the Dargo Chiana relationship, possibly. He wants her to be part of the crew by not being who she is, by trying to steal stuff. She calls him on it, basically. It's like, no, I'm not going to be like what you want me to be. I'm going to be me. But hey, time reset. Never happened. So whatever.
yeah. I'm hoping they don't just leave that as a one-off. That maybe we can get some growth, possibly even just on Dargo's side, right? Learning how to let Chiana be Chiana. So yeah, the fact that it didn't happen again, timey-wimey, but maybe it'll be revisited.
Yeah, I mean, like she said, she is who she is. So I mean, she'll be stealing stuff, in the future. So we'll see if he reacts to it then or doesn't care.
And as we'll get to as in the wrap up, talking about next time, that may come up quicker than we think.
Could be. And of course, the sappy part of the episode, of course, it's Crichton's picture in the locket. Aeryn's one true love. Aww.
Aw.
It's kind of funny how he didn't want to open it up when she said, "No, go ahead, do it. I dare you, open it up." And he's like, "No, I don't want to see your husband's ugly face." So it's like, did he really know, or did he just not want to know that that was true, right? And also, of course, now they don't know at all because it never happened. So,
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of sympathize. That'd be something you wouldn't want to risk, but the fact that he did it later and it was him just adds more to that punch, right?
yeah, because the fact that now it's too late. Because now, if you would have wanted to just do something about that, she's gone. So like you lost your chance at something more than I guess they must have had for 55 cycles on the planet, right?
Yeah, I maybe I misread it. I think they were good for 55 cycles. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. They didn't really even hint at what was going on. So I don't know. But yeah, whatever. You can assume that they
I'll headcanon that. It's okay.
were a couple. Oh, that's fine. I mean, they were before, so why not now, right? I don't know. So yeah, so we have all that big drama. Aeryn dies. They come back to life. They get young again. So you think, wow, okay, roll the end credits. Nope. Happy ending, great. Yeah, but like I said before, then Stark decides, oh yeah, I should tell everybody why I'm here. Hey, Dargo, your son's about to be sold to slavery. Oh crap, get off me. Yes.
Yeah, that really threw me. I gotta be honest because I even checked the episode time when that happened to make sure I hadn't missed the cut and had started it in the next episode. Because
Right.
I thought we were like gonna wrap it at the John and Aeryn scene where it kind of they were looking to drop the locket dust and it kind of froze on them and you're like, okay, we've got the emotional kick and they don't remember, but it's got you good heart feelings. There's still something there. We'll get there eventually. And then no, we're just gonna keep on like this episode's not done. There's another several minutes and let's set up the next story. And I was like, whoa, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, I mean they really jammed a bunch into this, even for what basically like the two plot lines. Basically, no, there's really three plot lines. We're just gonna keep that one to the end and just drop it on you. It
Yeah.
was a good little twist. I like it.
Yeah, and they actually, again, it's they got a mission now. It's time to go, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Well, I hope so because it's only a couple of days, right? So I hope that the next episode we'll get into is that because otherwise, if they go somewhere else, it's like, wait a minute, wasn't it your son like got a couple of days? Like, hey, you should get back to that, right?
Yeah, let's go spend a couple episodes tracking down Crace or something, right? Let's just totally deviate from.
Yeah. So and obviously because that's how plot works. Stark got to them in time, probably, hopefully, and they have enough time to get where they have to go, wherever that is. So we'll find out.
Hopefully, it's not too late, or else Dargo has a good reason to be mad at him, right, for sitting around the ship for that long.
Yeah, because then Stark better leave because if Stark gets a hold of him, right, you better find that pod and get the heck out of there, buddy.
Mm.
Anything else about this
No, I think
timey-wimey episode?
I think we timey-wimey it, wrapped it up, and again, two thumbs up. It was enjoyable.
Yep. Yeah, so I guess to wrap up both of them, yeah, I mean these were two, like I said before, two awesome episodes. I mean, the first one like blew me away. I was just like, this is so off the wall. I'm just like, what are they gonna do now? It's getting just more insane. I love it. Probably the best of the season so far. Both of these probably, at least right now. Won't Get Fooled Again is probably the top of all of them so far for me. I don't know, these just amazing. The acting was fantastic. He had humor, but then he had seriousness. He got sadness. I mean, it ran the emotional roller coaster. Both of them. We get to learn more about what Scorpius did to John, which makes it even more freaky and scary, like what that really means or could mean. And of course, just for funnies, we get the double episode title drop. Each episode name dropped the title. Maybe a first time ever. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll call it a first because whatever.
It's the first time we thought to write it down, right?
That's right. So therefore, it's number one. It's the first time it's ever happened.
Yeah. I'll second that. Definitely two greats. I don't know that I'll put it at the absolute top because I hold the season one cliffhanger doubleheader pretty high. Maybe if I went back and watched it now, it might not, but in my mind, it still sits above this. Although I'm gonna put an asterisk next to that because I have to admit that Won't Get Fooled Again is the first time that as soon as I finished an episode, I had to text you and comment on it like right then because my brain was just
what the heck did I just watch?
It's like, that was good. I don't know what it was. That is the first time I think I've had to do that. So usually I try to save stuff for the podcast, obviously, but that one just blew my mind. So it may not be the top, but it definitely gets the asterisk for the first time that happened.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of love like those kind of like just non sequitur, just off the wall, mind bleepery episodes. I mean, I think that's why I love the whole series of Legion when that was running a couple of years ago, because that was just so nut job, off the wall, just crazy, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, which makes it even funnier that not to set this in a specific time, but we were just watching talking about Moon Knight right before we started recording. So yeah, these mind mess with you shows are always a fun ride. So
Yeah, because they can just do anything they want, and just they can justify it because it's crazy. So speaking of, well, not speaking of crazy, or maybe who knows, we don't know yet. Up next, we got season 2, episode 17, The Ugly Truth, and episode 18, A Clockwork Nabari. So playing the usual guessing game off the title, Ugly Truth. Uh, I mean, we know Dargo's son Jothi's going to be sold into slavery, so hopefully, and soon, so hopefully they're going to address that in this story, because time's ticking, right? So what's ugly about the truth? Something that somebody doesn't want to be known? We've already kind of had that. So maybe it's something with Jothi, like he doesn't want Dargo's help, or he hates Dargo for abandoning him, because he's left him for, I don't know, however many cycles now, who knows. Clockwork Nabari, well, that's, to me, the first thing I thought of was a play on Clockwork Orange, that movie, also a book, but I only watched the movie. So I'm guessing that that's going to be some brainwashing at the hands of Chiana's people, the Nabari. The only time we saw somebody else of her species was when we first met Chiana, and she's telling the crew that the Nabari basically mind controlled their entire population into being good citizens. So I'm guessing it's some kind of the Nabari come back and get hold of everybody and start brainwashing them all to be good little puppets.
yeah, I definitely like your take on the Clockwork Orange title. I'm picturing kind of a mental or mind control hospital, kind of set up for the Nurse Ratchet type stuff, which would be interesting, right? Because maybe we in getting, if we go sequentially, and I think you're right on the Jothi thing, at least for the plot wise, it'd be interesting if maybe the second part of that involves the Nabari, and again, it kind of gives us some more closure back to the interaction between Dargo and Chiana, right? How's if Jothi does become, does get rescued, how's he going to react to Chiana? There's a whole bunch of stuff there with the Nabari that we can play with. As far as the first episode of the two, I'm thinking the ugly may be the slavery part, but you're right, it could be relationship based. There's just a whole lot of place to go. I'm curious how they're going to name drop the ugly truth, but I'm sure John can get the clockwork stuff in there, but the ugly truth may be a little more difficult.
Yeah, that doesn't really come up in a conversation. That phrase doesn't really roll off the tongue, or it's not part of everyday conversation. So, and it's not like a euphemism or like a Earth reference to something, right? It's not like a TV show or a book or a movie or something. So,
I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
yeah, I mean, we've already had the first only ever double name drop that we're that we're going to admit to anyway.
They may take one off now, I guess. That's true.
Yeah, so we will find out. All right, so that is your homework for next time, and we'll see you then. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Later, taters. What? No. Keep with the Gary Regal. It's like, yeah, whoa, dude.
Okay, so you have to clip that and put it at the end of the music or whatever for anybody who makes it all the way to the very end of the track.